There are days when your body is fine, your mind is calm, and life feels normal. Yet something deep inside feels tired. This tiredness is not physical. It is your soul asking to rest. There are days when your body feels perfectly fine, your mind is calm, and life around you looks normal. Yet somewhere deep inside, something feels tired. Not the kind of tiredness that sleep can fix, not the kind of exhaustion that work creates. This is a deeper tiredness, a silent fatigue that lives behind your eyes, behind your breath, behind your smile. It is a tiredness of the soul. You move through the day, you do what you have to do, you talk, you listen, you work, you smile, but beneath all of it, there is a quiet heaviness, a soft ache, as if a part of you is whispering, I need rest. Not rest from activity, but rest from being strong, rest from pretending, rest from carrying emotional weight that has piled up inside you over the years. This soul tiredness does not appear suddenly. It builds slowly, quietly, without noise. It grows through all the moments you kept going when you should have paused. It grows through all the emotions you suppressed because you thought they made you weak. It grows through all the situations you accepted just to keep peace. It grows through all the times you stayed silent when your heart needed to speak. It grows through every burden you carried alone because you didn't want to trouble anyone. You became the strong one, the reliable one, the responsible one, the calm one, the understanding one, the one who held everything together. And somewhere in the process, you forgot to hold yourself. This tiredness is your soul asking you to finally look inward. Your body can rest by lying down. Your mind can rest by sleeping. But the soul only rests when you return to yourself, when you stop pretending, when you stop performing, when you stop forcing, when you stop pleasing, when you stop carrying what is not yours, when you stop pushing yourself to be fine. This tiredness comes when the soul is overstretched, when it has given more than it has received, when it has carried pain that was never healed, when it has lived too long without nourishment. You can fool the world with a smile, but you cannot fool your soul. The soul knows when you are hurting. The soul knows when you are overwhelmed. The soul knows when you are exhausted inside. The soul knows when you need silence, when you need space, when you need to breathe without pressure. This silent tiredness is not weakness. It is a sacred signal. The signal that your soul needs attention. The signal that something within you has been ignored for too long. The signal that you need deeper rest. Rest from expectations, rest from stress, rest from emotional noise, rest from trying to be everything for everyone. Your soul wants to return to its natural rhythm, a rhythm of calm, a rhythm of presence, a rhythm of truth, a rhythm of gentleness. But you cannot hear this rhythm until you slow down. When the soul is tired, life begins to feel heavy. Not because the world is heavy, but because you have carried too much inside you without letting any of it go. You may feel like you're running on empty. You may feel like nothing excites you. You may feel like you are watching your own life from a distance. You may feel like everything requires extra effort. You may feel like you are functioning but not living. This is not depression. This is depletion. Your soul is depleted because you have not given it space to breathe. You have not given it permission to rest. You have not given it the softness it deserves. When the soul is tired, even simple things can feel overwhelming. Even small decisions can feel heavy. Even moments of joy feel dim. Even silence feels loud. But understand this deeply. Your soul is not breaking. It is asking to be healed. This tiredness is your inner world saying, you cannot continue like this. It is asking you to stop pushing yourself through emotional pain. It is asking you to stop pretending everything is fine. It is asking you to stop being strong all the time. It is asking you to reconnect with the part of yourself that you abandoned in order to survive. This tiredness comes when your soul is ready to transform, just like the night becomes darkest before the dawn arrives. Your soul becomes tired. Before it awakens into a new state of clarity, your tired soul is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your healing. Allow this tiredness. Honor it. Listen to it. Let it speak. Let it slow you down. Let it bring you inward. Let it guide you back to the softest part of your being, because inside this tiredness is a message you have been ignoring for years. A message that says, come home to yourself. Let go. Rest here. Breathe again. There is a kind of tiredness that lives deeper than the body, deeper than the mind, deeper than anything you can solve with sleep or rest. This tiredness is not in your muscles, not in your bones, not in your thoughts. It is in your spirit. Your soul is tired. Tired of holding everything together. Tired of pretending. Tired of being strong when it wanted to fall apart. Tired of carrying emotions that were never allowed to be spoken. Tired of healing others while quietly breaking inside. Tired of being the one who understands, the one who forgives, the one who absorbs the pain of others without ever expressing its own. Your soul becomes tired when you live for too long disconnected from your own essence, when you live in the expectations of others, when you suppress your true feelings, when you silence your needs, when you ignore your boundaries, when you give more than you have, when you tolerate what hurts you, when you stay in places that shrink your spirit, when you carry roles that no longer fit your being. Your soul becomes tired when life becomes performance rather than presence. This is why nothing feels exciting. This is why conversations drain you. This is why noise feels heavier than before. This is why you avoid people without knowing why. This is why you feel older inside than your age suggests. This is why you crave silence more than company. This is why your energy feels scattered, fragile, delicate. Your soul is not weak. It is simply exhausted from years of surviving instead of living. There are many ways the soul gets tired. It gets tired when it heals what it didn't break. It gets tired when it carries emotions that don't belong to it. It gets tired when it loves without being loved back in the same depth. It gets tired when it gives without receiving. It gets tired when it listens without ever being heard. It gets tired when it waits for people who never show up. It gets tired when it stays too long where it should have walked away. It gets tired when it tries to be enough for people who cannot see its value. Your soul gets tired when your life stops honoring your truth. And when the soul gets tired, it does not scream, it does not shout, it does not demand. It becomes quiet, silent, empty. Not because it has nothing to say, but because it has said too much. Without being understood, this quietness inside you is the soul's way of protecting itself. When it no longer has the energy to speak, it withdraws, it disconnects from the world. It creates a distance, it pulls you inward, it wraps itself in silence. Your soul withdraws not to punish you, but to protect you. To protect you from further emotional exhaustion. To protect you from giving where there is no reciprocity. To protect you from draining yourself into emptiness. To protect you from sacrificing your well-being for others. To protect you from becoming someone you are not. This withdrawal feels like tiredness, but it is actually self-preservation. The soul knows when it needs rest. It knows when it needs stillness. It knows when it needs peace. It knows when it needs to stop and breathe. It knows before your mind does, before your body does, before your life circumstances reflect it. Your soul is wise. Your soul is ancient. Your soul has survived storms that your conscious mind never even recognized. So when the soul gets tired, it tries to slow you down. You may suddenly lose motivation. You may feel like you can't keep pushing. You may feel distant from everyone. You may feel emotional without explanation. You may feel overwhelmed by small things. You may feel a heaviness you cannot name. You may feel a longing for something you can't describe. You may feel a deep ache for rest that isn't physical. This is your soul asking you to stop forcing yourself, to stop caring too much, to stop pretending you're okay, to stop running from your emotions, to stop rushing through life, to stop living on autopilot. Your soul wants you to reconnect with your inner child, reconnect with your forgotten dreams, reconnect with your real desires, reconnect with the softness you lost, reconnect with your own presence. You cannot heal a tired soul through more effort. You heal it through surrender, through slowing down, through breathing deeply, through allowing yourself to feel, through letting go of roles that exhaust you, through resting in silence, through spending time in your own company, through giving yourself the love you always give to others. Your soul is asking you to return to the simplest truths, that you are human, that you are emotional, that you are sensitive, that you are allowed to break, that you are allowed to rest, that you are allowed to stop carrying the weight of the world, that you are allowed to choose yourself. This soul tiredness is not the end of your journey. It is the moment your healing begins. Life is shifting you inward, removing the noise, removing the pressure, removing the expectations, so your soul can finally breathe again. Do not run from this tiredness. Sit with it, honor it, listen to it. Because a soul that is allowed to rest will always rise again, quieter, clearer, brighter, truer, and more alive than ever before. There is a moment in every inner journey when the tiredness of the soul becomes impossible to ignore. It sits quietly inside the chest, like a weight that has no shape, like a silence that has no sound, like a heaviness that cannot be explained in words. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it when you move through your day. You feel it even when nothing difficult is happening. It is a tiredness that does not belong to the body, nor to the mind. It belongs to something deeper, something older, something sacred. Your soul becomes tired when you live too long disconnected from who you really are. When you move through life doing what is expected instead of what is true. When you silence your emotions because the world does not know how to hold them. When you swallow your pain because you fear being misunderstood. When you keep giving even when your inner cup is empty. When you stay in places that drain you because you learn to normalize suffering. This soul tiredness arrives quietly, without drama, without noise. It appears when the deeper truth inside you has been ignored for too long. It appears when your inner being whispers, "I cannot go on like this." But you don't hear this whisper in the beginning. Instead, you feel tired without reason. You feel distant from yourself. You feel disconnected from the world. You feel like your heart is heavier than your body. You feel like your past is sitting on your shoulders. You feel like every movement takes more energy than it should. This tiredness is not depression. It is depletion. A sacred depletion created by years of emotional and spiritual labor. You have carried too much. You have felt too deeply. You have healed more than anyone knows. You have kept too many pieces of yourself hidden. You have fought battles that no one ever saw. You have forgiven when it hurt. You have stayed calm while storms raged inside you. You have held your heart together with quiet strength. Now your soul wants to rest, not because it is weak, but because it is wise. The soul knows when it needs stillness. It knows when the world has become too loud. It knows when the heart has absorbed too much. It knows when the mind has been overworked. It knows when the spirit has been stretched thin. This tiredness is your soul's request for healing. Healing that cannot happen in noise. Healing that requires silence. Healing that requires slowing down. Healing that requires returning inward. Healing that requires choosing peace over productivity. You cannot heal a tired soul by moving faster. You cannot heal it by pretending you are fine. You cannot heal it by forcing yourself to be strong. You cannot heal it by ignoring what hurts. You cannot heal it by filling every moment with distraction. The soul heals in the softest moments. When you sit quietly with yourself, when you breathe without rushing, when you let your body relax, when you stop judging your feelings, when you stop running from your truth, the soul heals in stillness, in silence, in surrender, in gentleness, in patience. Your soul becomes tired when it has lived too long, cut off from its natural rhythm. The natural rhythm of the soul is slow, unhurried, peaceful, aware, present, open, soft. But life taught you to move fast, to push through emotions, to ignore the heart, to perform strength, to hide vulnerability, to appear confident even when you were breaking, to keep going even when you needed rest. This goes against the nature of the soul. And anything that goes against the soul creates exhaustion. This is why your energy feels sensitive, why your emotions feel heavier, why your thoughts feel scattered, why your heart feels fragile, why your spirit feels thin. Your soul is tired from resisting its own truth. It wants to live authentically. It wants to express honestly. It wants to feel deeply without fear. It wants to move at its own pace. It wants to rest without guilt. It wants to love without losing itself. It wants to grow without pressure. It wants to breathe without justification. When your soul gets tired, the life you built around expectations begins to collapse, not because it is wrong, but because it is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. Your soul is trying to free you from everything that is not meant for the next chapter of your life. That is why certain people fade away. That is why certain dreams dissolve. That is why certain habits break on their own. That is why certain emotions rise to the surface. That is why your priorities shift. That is why your heart becomes more sensitive. That is why your intuition becomes louder. Your soul is guiding you toward a new way of being, a way that is lighter, truer, kinder, more aligned with your inner nature. This tiredness is not the end of your path. It is the beginning of your awakening. Your soul is clearing the space so something more authentic can enter. A new clarity, a new purpose, a new energy, a new relationship with yourself, a new inner peace. This tiredness is the night before the dawn inside you. Let it be. Listen to it. Honor it. Move gently. Breathe softly. Allow life to slow down, because the soul that is allowed to rest will return with wisdom you have never known before. Feel again. Heal. There comes a moment on your path when the tiredness inside you no longer feels like something to escape, but something to understand. You begin to see that this exhaustion is not a flaw, not a weakness, not a mistake. It is a signal, a sacred signal, a sign that something within you is shifting, dissolving, transforming. The soul becomes tired not to break you, but to slow you down enough so that you can hear what it has been trying to say for years. You see, the soul speaks in silence. It whispers through your emotions. It communicates through your fatigue. It guides you through your emptiness. And when you ignore these whispers long enough, they grow into a deep, quiet tiredness that becomes impossible to overlook. This tiredness is the soul's language. It is saying, you have carried too much for too long. You have abandoned yourself while trying to be there for everyone. You have given your strength to the world, but not to your own heart. You have forgotten to rest where you break. You have forgotten to breathe where you suffocate. You have forgotten to feel where you numb yourself. And now the soul wants to be heard. When your soul feels tired, life begins to feel like a slow wait. You wake up without enthusiasm. You move through your day without connection. You do things automatically, mechanically, without presence. You feel like a distant observer in your own life. You feel like you are functioning but not living. You feel like you are answering everyone but yourself. This is because the soul is being stretched beyond its natural rhythm. The world demands speed. The soul demands slowness. The world demands answers. The soul demands introspection. The world demands strength. The soul demands gentleness. The world demands productivity. The soul demands peace. And when these two rhythms collide, the soul becomes tired. It's not your body that is exhausted. It is your inner being trying to return to its own nature. Your soul becomes tired when you ignore your emotions. when you silence your pain to avoid discomfort, when you pretend you are okay while drowning quietly inside, when you smile while your heart aches, when you stay calm while your inner world cracks, when you hold on while everything asks you to let go. The soul becomes tired when you betray yourself in small ways every day. When you say yes while your heart says no. When you stay where your spirit wants to leave. When you hold relationships that no longer nourish you. When you cling to memories that have already ended. When you resist change that your soul is already choosing. This type of tiredness does not go away with sleep. Because the body is not the one asking for rest. It is the heart. Your heart is tired of being unheard. Your heart is tired of holding unspoken pain. Your heart is tired of enduring emotional storms alone. Your heart is tired of hiding its wounds behind silence. Your heart is tired of giving more than it receives. Your heart is tired of pretending strength. Your heart is tired of carrying hope in places where hope has dried. When the heart is tired, the soul steps in gently and says, "Come back, come inside, sit with yourself, let me heal you." Ease up. And to bring you inward, the soul uses the only language it has, tiredness, because when your soul is tired, you naturally withdraw. You step away from noise. You lose interest in meaningless attachments. You stop chasing what drains you. You disconnect from superficial conversations. You begin craving silence. You become sensitive to energy. You become protective of your peace. You look for refuge, not excitement. This withdrawal is not isolation. It is protection. It is healing. It is renewal. The soul withdraws so it can rebuild. Just like a tree sheds its leaves to survive the winter. Just like the ocean pulls back its waves before rising again. Just like the night deepens before dawn breaks. Your soul is creating space for transformation. And in that space, you are meant to rest, to breathe, to soften, to let go. The tiredness you feel is not the end. It is the doorway to your next beginning. It is your soul clearing away the noise so you can hear your truth again. It is pulling you away from the wrong paths so you can find the right one. It is dissolving your old identity so your true self can return. It is removing people who drain you so you can make room for those who nourish you. It is teaching you that survival is not living, that silence is not emptiness, and that slowing down is not failure. Your tired soul is guiding you back to a life that feels human again, back to softer mornings, back to quieter thoughts, back to deeper breaths, back to gentle inner space, back to yourself. You are not tired because you are weak. You are tired because you are finally ready to heal. This is the sacred exhaustion that appears before every inner rebirth. Let this tiredness soften you, not harden you. Let it humble you, not break you. Let it guide you, not frighten you. Let it slow you, not stop you. Because the soul that rests rises. And when you rise, you will rise with a clarity you have never known, a peace you have never felt, a strength you have never recognized, a self you have never met. There comes a time when the soul becomes so tired that even the smallest noise feels heavy. Even simple conversations feel draining. Even joyful moments feel distant. You find yourself sitting alone, staring at nothing, feeling everything. You are not sad, you are not broken, you are not lost. You are simply tired at a level that the world cannot see. It is an exhaustion that comes from carrying a heart that has loved deeply, felt deeply, endured deeply. It is a fatigue born out of being sensitive in a world that rewards hardness. Your soul knows when it has reached its limit. It knows when your inner world has carried too much. It knows when your energy is stretched thin. It knows when your emotions need space. It knows when your spirit needs silence. And so it slows you down, not as punishment, but as protection. This slowing down is not laziness. It is healing. It is the soul trying to gather itself. After too many storms, after too many disappointments, after too many responsibilities, after too much pretending, you see, the soul becomes tired. When life becomes heavier than truth. When you live outside yourself for too long, when you give more than you receive, when you stay in situations that no longer nourish your spirit, when you absorb more pain than your heart can safely hold, when you keep forgiving people who never understand your depth, when you offer love to those who cannot meet you in the same sincerity, the soul becomes tired when your heart has been carrying the weight of unspoken thoughts, uncried tears, unhealed memories, unfelt emotions. All these things collect inside you like dust in a forgotten room. And one day, the room becomes too heavy to enter, and that heaviness becomes your silence, your disinterest, your need for distance, your craving for solitude. This is soul-tiredness, a gentle breaking that asks nothing from you except honesty. When the soul becomes tired, you begin to withdraw, not because you want to be alone forever, but because you need to recollect the pieces of yourself that you gave away without noticing. You begin to speak less because there is too much inside you that words can't explain. You begin to avoid noise because your spirit needs quiet to breathe again. You begin to lose interest in superficial things because your inner world is craving depth. You begin to detach from people who drain your energy because your soul is protecting what's left of your light. This detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. A tired soul can no longer pretend. It can no longer lie to itself. It can no longer carry masks. It can no longer participate in what feels false. It can no longer sustain what is heavy and untrue. So life begins to fall away. Old dreams fade. Old habits break. Old relationships loosen. Old fears dissolve. Old identities die. Not because you are losing anything, but because you are shedding everything. That prevents your soul from breathing freely. Your soul is not asking you to fight. It is asking you to surrender, to stop resisting your own needs, to stop betraying your own emotions, to stop pushing yourself beyond your emotional capacity. The soul wants you to soften, to slow down, to feel, to rest, to integrate, to allow. This tiredness is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of your wisdom. It is the soul saying, you have outgrown this phase of your life. You are ready for something deeper. You are ready to receive, not only give. You are ready to be seen, not only hidden. You are ready to live from your truth. not from survival. You may not realize it yet, but this exhaustion is a transition, a sacred passage, a quiet transformation, a doorway into a new chapter. All deep transformations begin with emptiness. All rebirths begin with tiredness. All awakenings begin with withdrawal. All healing begins with slowing down. And you are in that stage now. The stage where the old world feels distant and the new world hasn't arrived yet. This in-between space feels like floating, like waiting, like pausing, like standing between two lives. But this is where your soul is rewriting your purpose. This is where your spirit is recalibrating. This is where your heart is learning how to hold itself. This is where your intuition is rising. The tiredness you feel is not a sign that you are done. It is a sign you are preparing for a life that aligns with your truth, preparing for relationships that honor your depth, preparing for work that nourishes your spirit, preparing for a version of yourself that you have not met yet. Your soul is tired because it is growing, and growth always feels like breaking before it feels like becoming. Do not fight this tiredness. Do not fear it. Do not hate it. Sit with it. Breathe in it. Let it speak. Let it unravel you gently. Because beneath this tiredness is a new you waiting to rise. There is a point in every soul's journey where the exhaustion becomes so deep, so silent, so invisible, that even you struggle to understand it. You look at yourself and wonder, why am I so tired when nothing is wrong? But something is wrong. Something inside you has carried a weight that was never meant to be carried alone. And now that inner being is slowing down, not because it is weak, but because it has been strong for far too long. This tiredness is not physical, it is not mental, it is not emotional, it is spiritual. It lives in the deepest place within your being, the place where your truth breathes quietly. Your soul becomes tired when you avoid your own needs for too long. When you silence the voice inside you that says, I need rest. When you deny the emotions that rise inside you. When you stay in environments that drain your energy. When you surround yourself with people who take more than they give. When you try to be everything for everyone. When you live with a heart that absorbs the world without protection. The soul grows tired because it is sensitive, gentle, open. It feels more than the mind can explain. It carries more than the body can show. It remembers everything the heart tries to forget. A tired soul often appears in a person who looks fine from the outside. They smile, they show up, they help others, they handle responsibilities, they move through life quietly. But inside, there is a heaviness, a feeling of being stretched, a sense of being overwhelmed, a subtle ache that never fully fades. This is the tiredness of someone who has lived deeply but healed slowly. You may feel disconnected from others, and that is natural. You may feel uninterested in things you used to enjoy. You may feel waves of emotion without reason. You may feel like crying without understanding why. You may feel like withdrawing from everything. This is the soul pulling back so it can recover. The soul heals in silence, not in noise. It heals in stillness, not in chaos. It heals in solitude, not in crowds. It heals in slowness, not in speed. When your soul is tired, it does not ask you to fight harder. It asks you to stop, to pause, to breathe, to soften, to listen. The soul whispers gently, you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to hold everything together. You don't have to carry this alone. You don't have to hide your wounds. You don't have to run anymore. You deserve rest. Your tiredness is your soul asking for honesty. Honesty with yourself. Honesty with your emotions. Honesty with your needs. Honesty with your boundaries. You have been living in survival mode for so long that you forgot what it feels like to live gently. When the soul is tired, it asks you to release everything that is no longer aligned. Release the roles that exhaust you. Release the expectations that suffocate you. Release the past that burdens you. Release the people who take your light. Release the guilt that keeps you small. Release the beliefs that limit you. Release the pressure to always be okay. The soul becomes lighter every time you let go. And in this tiredness, something beautiful is happening. Your intuition is waking up. Your wisdom is rising. Your emotional truth is becoming clearer. Your sensitivity is sharpening. Your awareness is expanding. This tiredness is not destruction. It is preparation. Preparation for a new phase of life. A new version of yourself. A new way of being. The soul often becomes the most tired when it is on the edge of transformation. Just before a breakthrough, there is always a period of deep exhaustion. Just before clarity, there is always confusion. Just before renewal, there is always emptiness. Just before awakening, there is always darkness. You may feel like something inside you is collapsing, but in truth, something is being rebuilt. Your tired soul is breaking away from old patterns. It is shedding old skins. It is preparing to rise with new strength, new softness, new clarity, new peace. One day, when this phase is over, you will look back and say, this is the time my life changed silently from the inside. The tiredness you feel now is the seed of that transformation. Let it be. Let it soften you. Let it guide you inward. Let it bring you back to the quiet truth of who you are. Because when the soul rests, it returns with more power than you have ever known. There comes a moment when your tired soul begins to whisper in a language only silence can understand. You feel something inside you slowing down, something soft calling you back to yourself. This is not the tiredness of the body, nor the confusion of the mind. It is a deeper exhaustion, an exhaustion born from carrying emotions you never spoke, responsibilities you never questioned, and pain you never allowed to heal. Your soul grows tired not because life is hard, but because you have forgotten to sit with your own heart. When the soul becomes tired, it gently pulls away from everything that no longer nourishes it. You begin to feel disconnected from noise, uninterested in small talk, distant from people who drain your energy. It is not loneliness. It is protection. Your soul is choosing silence so it can breathe again. You may feel like you are withdrawing from the world, but in truth, you are returning to your center. The tired soul asks for only one thing: presence. Presence with your real feelings. Presence with your forgotten desires. Presence with the part of you that you've ignored while taking care of others. This presence is not about doing anything. It is about allowing yourself to be with whatever rises inside you without judgment. Let the sorrow speak. Let the fear surface. Let the heaviness show itself. Healing begins when nothing inside you needs to hide anymore. This tiredness is not an ending. It is the beginning of clarity. The soul often becomes most exhausted right before it releases something heavy. You may not see the transformation yet, but it has already started. Your intuition is sharpening. Your truth is rising. Your boundaries are forming. Your inner wisdom is waking up. The exhaustion is simply clearing a space where something new can grow.